Nice. So there's a temple already there?
Well, I mean, there's it's called Bhakti Urban Farm. There's 3 cows. That's where they're gonna have it. There's a big building on the place.
Oh, they have cows there. Nice. What kind of desi cows or what kind of cows?
Yeah.
Oh,
Gear.
gear cows. Acha.
Your cows are the highest breed of desi cows.
Hi.
Rupa Manjari, I don't know if I've ever met you or not. I think maybe. Did you come to Houston?
You mean in person?
Yeah.
I doubt it. Where are you, in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I doubt it.
You've never been to Houston?
I have, but it was many years ago, like 2011.
Okay.
Krishna's servant wants to say something, so I'll unmute him or her. Okay.
Do you know Robert?
Do I know Robert?
Yeah.
Can I
think
read?
so, no.
I want to read.
You want to read? Okay, very good. Haribol. Okay.
Hare Krishna, I want to read.
Okay, yes. We'll start now. We'll start now. Here it is.
Okay.
Here's the title.
Okay. Dynastically, ascent need for Deva Krishna Dharma.
Have we gone live?
Yeah, we can't really hear you. Your voice is very low. Can you speak a little louder or move the microphone closer?
Okay. Sooner rather than later, the delicately increasingly cyber-driven human conscious experience will crash either massively or impeccably. That crash, it's not.
This person doesn't sound very clear.
Okay. Yes. Krishna servant, we'll mute you. Okay. Andrew, Matthew Prabhu, you go. Go ahead.
That crash will disrupt all the supply routes.
Let's start from the beginning, Matthew.
Sooner rather than later, the delicate, increasingly cyber-driven human conscious experience will crash, either massively or incrementally. That crash will disrupt all the...
Who's drawing all those?
It's someone is like, messing around here. Okay. Yeah, it's like I'm the controller, but someone is controlling me.
Who knew what we were reading would come through so soon?
Oh, Krishna. I thought I'm the controller, but there's someone controlling me.
I think it's Abhimanyu that did it.
But Abhimanyu is not the administrator, so I don't know how he's doing it. Okay, I'm gonna start removing people because it's not it's kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
Okay, Abhimanyu, I'm gonna remove you, and whoever else there is. Okay. Okay. Who's this Mansavi? Mansavi, can you introduce yourself? Who you are? Vanu Prabhu, how are these people getting in? Any ideas?
Krishna servant was asking why I was laughing. I was laughing because we were reading about how the technocratic society would fail, and then as soon as that happened, the screen had all sorts of squiggles on it. That's why I was laughing.
I'm removing people. Okay, Narayan Prabhu is calling. 1 second. Turn on mic. Krishna servant. Okay. Go ahead, Krishna servant.
Where's Narayan?
Oh, I was just speaking to him. He's coming on.
Okay.
Okay, let me share the screen again. If they take control again, then we're gonna boot Krishna servant.
Okay.
Madhi Prabhu, please, one more time.
Matthew?
Okay, now Narayan Prabhu is coming on right now.
Oh, they're doing it again.
Yeah. Okay. It's Krishna servant. Looks like I'll boot this person. Okay, let's see if it happens again. This is too funny.
Oh, Matthew's muted.
Oh, Matthew's muted. Okay, let me unmute Matthew. 1 second. Matthew Prabhu, unmute yourself, Matthew Prabhu. Sorry about that. I think the disturbance is gone. Narayan Prabhu, let me unmute Narayan Prabhu. Okay.
Change my name, Ramachandra.
Oh, okay, Mahaprabhu. Okay. Maha, Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, let's share again. Well, let's try again. Let's see if they take over again. Okay. Matthew Prabhu, are you unmuted? You can start reading, Prabhu. Okay, let me ask to unmute. Okay.
Audible.
All right, you're back. Chai.
Sooner rather than later, the delicate, increasingly cyber-driven human conscious experience will crash, either massively or incrementally. That crash will disrupt all the supply routes and channels on the global scale. People who have become mere eaters of low-nutrition fast foods and who have given up on the practice since time immemorial of growing, harvesting, and cooking their own local foodstuffs will suddenly find their usual fast food vanish for a number of different reasons, such as the inability to manage distribution of vital goods due to computer crashes, petroleum lines suddenly becoming incapable of delivering petrol to gas or truck stations, a lack of microchips required to manufacture cars, trucks, as well as farm machinery and many other easy to disrupt functions required to maintain life as usual in practically all the developed countries of the world. 2. Srila Prabhupada. Welcome Narayan. Haribol.
Jai, Narayan Prabhu. Let me unmute you. Okay, let me change the settings. 1 second. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Narayan Prabhu, you gotta unmute yourself. Okay, 1 second. Okay. He's speaking, but no one can hear. Narayan Prabhu, you gotta unmute yourself.
Oh, I tried.
Oh, there you go.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Narayan.
Jai.
Haribol!
Haribol.
Mahaprabhu!
Krishna, Haribol.
Haribol.
All right. So we're reading it. Narayan Prabhu, we're reading it together. So
Okay, I noticed you're reading the second one first, right?
no, we started already, so we can start again.
Oh, you read the first one already?
Yeah. So maybe let's alternate from. I'll read number 1, then Matthew Prabhu can read number 2, and someone else. Okay.
Oh, I don't have a number 3. I was talking with Rupa Manjari instead of writing.
Okay. Okay. The increasingly urgent need for Daivi Varnashram Dharma. Sooner rather than later, the delicate, increasingly cyber-driven human conscious experience will crash, either massively or incrementally. That crash will disrupt all the supply routes and channels of the global scale. People who have become mere eaters of low nutrition fast foods and who have given up on the practice since time immemorial of growing, harvesting, and cooking their own local foodstuffs will suddenly find their unusual fast foods vanish for a number of different reasons, such as the inability to manage distribution of vital goods due to computer crashes, petroleum lines suddenly becoming incapable of delivering petrol to gas, and truck stations, a lack of microchips required for manufacturing of cars, trucks, as well as farm machinery, and many other easy to disrupt functions required to maintain life as usual in practically all the developed countries of the world. Okay.
Number 2, Srila Prabhupada tells us that there is more than enough empty land in every continent that can be systematically developed into self-sufficient and powerful communities, which will be able to function according to the requirements of the golden age of Kali. The remainder of the golden age of Kali will last for a relatively short span of time, comprised of approximately 9,450 remaining years, which will begin with the advent of Yuga Avatar Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Jai. Number 3, someone?
Okay. Arable land will become more and more easy to control as the golden age of Kali advances towards a living hell that will be all that remains when the age of Kali reaches its completion, leaving 417,000 years of increasing horrors that will last until the advent of Lord Kalki, who will then cleanse the earth of the ghastly, tormented living beings remaining on earth at that time. As soon as the winter of the 4 yugas, Kali Yuga, has reached its grisly completion, the gorgeous cosmic yuga of spring, Satya Yuga, will begin.
Jai. Number 4. Matthew Prabhu, if you can, Prabhu.
From this minute henceforward, we are bound to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet by our being the absolute eternal disciples of Srila Prabhupada. We will impeccably study each and every one of his instructions, as well as surrender to each and every one of them. We will collectively bring these instructions into the light of Krishna consciousness in ISKCON so that ISKCON will remain as Srila Prabhupada has stated his body.
Why not you finish it, Prabhu? You're
Okay.
doing wonderful.
Srila Prabhupada has created the pure spiritual context that for ISKCON to continue once it is restored to the lofty standard that he clearly created for his global transcendental movement, so that it will continue on as the miraculous Kanishta Adhikari shelter for even the most fallen souls of Kali Yuga. This Kanishta platform will provide the necessary context for devotional daily life, by all members following the 4 regulative principles, worshiping the deities installed by him, offering and taking prasadam, chanting on japa beads that will rapidly result in purifying the material bodies and polluted minds of those who wish to take shelter of ISKCON. The objective of ISKCON is to gradually relinquish the sense of actually being the material body that we all acquire at birth, to begin resuming our identity as the Jivatma, which is our conscious eternal self that possesses all of the qualities of Lord Krishna in minute form. Then it will become clear to all of us who are the members of the League for 10K, that the manifest destiny of ISKCON is to fulfill this visionary prediction made by Srila Prabhupada. This Krishna consciousness movement will go down in history as having saved the world in its momentous hour of need. Our powerfully restored faith in Srila Prabhupada and his purpose in having come from Krishna Loka to take up the process of delivering the fallen souls will give us all the necessary spiritual potency to create and maintain, among other divine tasks, Daiva Varna Ashram Dharma, so that the citizens of the world will have genuine shelter and an unparalleled opportunity to live a life of pure Krishna consciousness from morning until night, as in such a way that their going back to Godhead will be assured. By our collective effort, Daiva Varnashram Dharma will come to be known as the most effective and impeccable shelter for all of humankind. Jai.
Jai.
Ah,
Hare Bol.
I wish I wrote that. Yes. So does that grip you at all, Matthew, Prabhu?
I agree with everything there.
That's it. That's what must be there. And so if we're going to be taking guidance or partnership with others, let's bring them into this group. Let's bring them in to see what their contribution is to what has been said in that particular statement.
Yeah, many of these things are already happening, like the food crisis that happened when the COVID thing got started. When did it get started? 1 year, and all the food and toilet paper ran out. Remember?
They were stealing
Yeah,
trucks
but
full of toilet paper.
I remember.
Toilet paper, but there was no shortage of lotas.
Right.
What's
Toilet
Lutas?
paper crisis, but no lota crisis.
What's Lota?
That would have solved everything. Yeah, explain someone. What's a lota?
Lota is
Watering can for down there.
Yeah, lota is a vessel, people, that the Vedic, devotees use to, wash themselves,
And
Wash your butts.
wash their butts, right?
and they don't use toilet paper. They use water from the lota.
Yeah.
A bidet. A bidet.
It's
Yeah,
like
it
a
holds-
it's like a glorified cup, like and you put water in it, and then you.
Or
It's a
it
bidet.
could look like a gourd.
Okay, that's
small,
right.
but it's not very big. It holds less than a quart of water. You fill it up when you go to use the bathroom, whether it's outdoors in a latrine, like in a privy, or if it's in your house for the toilet. You take it, and with your left hand you pour water in, and then wash your butt after defecating, so all the excess poop is washed into the
Gross.
toilet or the ground or wherever it goes. Then you rinse your hand off with the lota, and that's why in India nobody touches anyone with their left hand.
And then you're supposed to take a shower.
Right. Yes.
Every morning
Well,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah, well, that's true. And Brahmin will take a complete bath after using the bathroom.
Yeah. Every time.
You're right, Matthew. Yeah, but
Cleanliness.
for the normal people, they just use a lota. And Prabhupada's sister went out in the field and used the bathroom with the lota, the same lota that she used for bathing. And one of the brahmacharis went crazy over that and ran to Prabhupada and said, "Your sister is using a same lota for bathroom and for bathing. Oh, what doesn't she know that not supposed to do that?" She said. And Prabhupada said, "No, it is perfectly all right, because she knows how to cleanse it afterwards."
Yeah.
It's brass or bell metal. It's perfectly good material for cleansing.
Joy.
Jai,
So
excellent.
you can bathe or with a lota. And how do you bathe with a lota? If you're in a stream or river, you dip it into the water and pour it over your head and your body. And if you're in India, when I was in 1975, I think I was in Mysore. And I stayed in a very nice Indian hotel. And in the Indian hotel, instead of a shower, they had a big pot, I don't know if it was clay or metal, but a big pot that held, like 20 gallons of water, partly because sometimes the water goes off in India and then you can't have continuous water. So you keep the pot full. Then you take a lota and you dip from the pot. You don't bathe into the pot. You take the water out of the pot and bathe yourself on the floor that has a drain. So as far as I'm concerned, that's heaven on earth. And that was in a Hindu hotel or Indian hotel in Mysore.
Very nice.
Yeah. So now, Mahaprabhu, you know more than you ever wanted to know as to what a lota is.
Thank you, Narayan.
You're so welcome. Oh, by
Thank
the
you.
way, Mahaprabhu, I got some tilak for you.
You got some what?
Tilak for putting the clay on the forehead.
Oh, fantastic.
Now the next question is, how do I get it to you? I'll have to be over the next few days.
You come and visit me.
Okay, here it's saying about, the food and the nutrition. What do you mean by nutrition? The fast food places are just...
Give the quote. That's good. Go through it. Pick it apart. Read the part you want to comment and then comment.
Okay, people who have become mere eaters of low nutrition fast foods and who have given up the practice since time immemorial of growing, harvesting, and cooking their own local foodstuffs will suddenly find their unusual fast foods vanish for a number of different reasons. I mean,
right.
I mean, this during your time.
If the electricity went off in Los Angeles, how would McDonald's freeze hamburgers? I mean, that's big. You may say, well, that's a bad problem. What if it lasts for 2 months? Then freezing hamburgers, all the meat in all the freezers would rot by then.
Right. You'll have to give it to the dogs or something.
Either that or the dogs will be eating the people and they're starved to death.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram is so important. And another thing I was just thinking, if the fast food industry gets infected by some kind of virus or something in the food,
yeah,
it can kill all these people who are eating it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that happens periodically. There's things like broccoli and peas and stuff like that get some sort of salmonella in them. They have to get rid of tons and tons and truckloads of stuff from one company.
Even the bulk foods, I went into Whole Foods and there was a huge selection of their bulk trail mixes. They had salmonella in their.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So you see, when you manufacture, and guess what? The people that do the manufacturing, they use illegal Mexicans that come across the border that can have any sort of disease, and they can't maintain high sanitary practices. And that's who they hire. They hire the cheapest people. Minimum wage is $8.50 an hour or something. They want to increase it to 15, and the same people want to increase it to 15 are flooding the borders with people that will gladly work for $4 an hour. So that's the double standard, triple, quadruple, and multiple standard of the lies we're being fed right now. Yeah, I found it was sort of amusing, Ramachandra, when I wrote that. I was just basically took it out of the headlines,
Yeah. Everything you can take out from the headlines nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, look at that pipeline in the East Coast. Nobody had gasoline for 2 weeks.
Right. And the gasoline is very expensive now. $4. It's just like crazy out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I get my gasoline at Costco for $3.85.
I don't
But
think.
it's not worth driving very far to get it, though. You know, I mean, what do you do? Save $5 and use $10 worth of gas to get there. So good. So why not go over that statement? I mean, it's pretty dense writing, and it sounded okay to me when I heard you read it. That I was very, I liked it just as a thing, not because I wrote it. But why not go over it and pick it apart? And as you were doing, I think it's a good thing to do.
Who's next, Prabhu? Matthew, Prabhu, you want to take a chance? You
I want
want
to say something. Why would the electricity run out? Because these people come with new technologies to generate electricity.
Huh?
Bhanu Prabhu is saying, why would the electricity run out? Because these people are finding new ways to generate electricity.
No, but I mean, supposing that the grid crashed in California for 2 months tomorrow, never mind over the long term, tomorrow, what would happen for no electricity in Los Angeles for 2 months? You unplug everything. Even if they had battery banks, even if they had generators, how long will they last? Until they run out of petrol, right?
Right.
Did that happen in the last decade or like that? Decade, 10 years?
Well, yes, it's happened a number of times. There was a time in 1990s when I was driving up to San Francisco, to Fresno, I guess, or San Francisco, with one of my assistants. We stopped in at the town partway up near Monterey. I forget the name of it, at a restaurant, and we ordered some vegetarian sandwiches and whatnot. And the restaurant had taken out their windows, you know, because it got to the point where everybody wanted to be enclosed and not have windows on the outside. So it had no windows, and then the electricity went out. And so we finished our meal. We wanted to get out of there, and we couldn't, and they wouldn't let us out because they had no electricity to run the credit cards. And I said, well, why don't you run them by hand the way they used to? I said, well, what if there's a mistake? We could be losing a lot of money that way. So they wouldn't let us out. Finally, in the end, they did agree to let us run the credit card mechanically, but they wanted to run it through their computer. So we got out of the place and got into the car. Soledad is where we were. Soledad, there's a big penitentiary there. But we got out of the car, got into the car, and started driving. Everything's black everywhere. There's no electricity anywhere. And I say, okay, I was a survivalist, so I had a small 8-inch by 8-inch black and white television in my car. So I said, we can see what's going on. So we turned on the television. The television stations were down. No television.
How long did it go? For how long did it go off?
I'll let you know. And so we were driving along through the middle of nowhere. I looked at the gas tank, the gas gauge. We were almost empty in the middle of a desert. From anywhere. And then it's called rolling hills. It's completely empty, sheep pastures for miles. So we were driving along, and then Krishna's arrangement, a miracle. We came to an intersection of 5 roads with a gas station in the middle that had its lights on.
Oh.
I had never asked why. I didn't tell the guy at the gas station that there was a power shortage because he would have charged 20 times more for the gas. We filled up the tank until it could take no drops more, and then headed up to San Francisco. But the power shortage lasted for about a week.
Wow.
Now, why was there a power shortage? This is to show you, I can tell you that everything depends. It's like a bunch of acrobats standing on each other's shoulders. One of them sneezes and everybody falls down, you know? What had happened? Why was there a shortage? Okay, San Francisco has cable cars, right? And the cable cars use overhead wires
Right. Yes.
Okay, but the overhead wires come off the main grid, and it goes through a station where they have big batteries and stuff like that, and big fuses. So what happened is that they were working on the overhead cables, but to keep people from being accidentally electrocuted, they ran like 20, they had like 20-foot copper posts, many of them stuck in the ground, and they grounded the electrical source that was turned off onto the posts. Okay, so then they worked on the cable car stuff, because if one little mistake and the guy's blown the kingdom come, it's finished, you know, because electricity is enormous in those things. So they finished all the repairs, everything was fine, and they turned the power back on. But they forgot to unhook the power lines from the posts. So when they put the batteries and the power and everything back on the grid, all the electricity went through those posts into the ground 20 feet down and blew out the main grid all over California. All of those wires that you see going this way and that way in California, you know, when you go drive on the freeway, you see all those big, they're part of a grid. They're not just wires going from here to there. They're part of, a grid means they share the electricity in what would look like a giant net, if you could make a picture of it. So that, because all the electricity in California, Oregon, and Nevada, and stuff like that went zooming down into the ground in San Francisco, it took them a week to get it back up and running, because all of those things have transformers. All the transformers blew. They had to replace them all. That's how vulnerable it was back then in 1990. And it's 200,000 times more sensitive now.
Right, right, yes.
Back in 1990, if a pumping gasoline would not be depending on computers. But in the East Coast, it was dependent on computers. Somebody came in, interfered with it, charged $4 million, so they say. But actually, I heard it was 20 million, but they didn't want to talk about it, to turn it back on. And then the bastards that turned it off, you know what they did? They gave a program for turning it back on that operated very slowly. It took them minutes to turn it off, but it took days and days and days to turn it back on, because they gave them a program to warn them not to mess with them ever again. That's just one group of hackers somewhere in cyberspace. And one pipeline that turned off the gasoline for the entire East Coast, pretty much. So when I say vulnerable, I'm coming from a position of experience and knowledge.
Yes, Sacramento here has a rolling blackout. So if people use too much power, it's going to shut off, meaning that, you know, there's too much power going out. So
yeah, and why not? But that's rolling blackouts means grid. Why? Because it's not just like in your house. If you want to put on a light, you can run a wire from your power box outside in and plug it in, put it into a plug into your lamp, right? And it'll go on. But a grid means like your whole neighborhood is on the same electrical system, even though you're tapping into it individually to get charged by the electric company, then you're stuck on that grid. And if it goes down, then you have rolling blackouts, as you say. It's pretty amazing, no?
So we'd like to welcome some new devotees, Triadish Das Prabhu and Priyanshi. They're coming. So kindly introduce yourselves, Prabhus.
And who are they? Give their names clearly, and where do they come from?
Yes. So we are unmuting you devotees. So please, Priyanshi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, please introduce yourself. How you came in contact with Srila Prabhupada? Maybe a good few minutes, and what are you expecting here at the Zoom, or if you have any questions for anyone here.
And how did you find out about the Zoom?
Yes.
So it was a lockdown time and I found Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita at my home. Then I started reading. Then I got to know about Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Right.
And about the Zoom class, I got to know on YouTube. It was live streaming on YouTube.
Okay. Jai. Very good.
And from that, and when you saw on YouTube, you decided you wanted to become part of it like this, right?
Can you please repeat?
Well, that's wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
We look at YouTube, people that see this program as people that are like in the lobby of the hotel. And we look at you coming in are like people coming up to the conference room in the hotel. So all the people out in the lobby are welcome to come up into the conference room and take part in Sadhu Sangha, in the conversation here. And we would say you sound like a wonderful lady. I'd like to mention there are several amazing ladies on this. Oh, you may have heard them, like Shreya, Rupa Manjari, like that. On this site, they come in and they speak so well from the heart and clearly that we guys that tend to be rather logical, more logical, are silenced and impressed by what they have to say because it's so spiritually tuned to making spiritual advancement as a soul, not just as a big brain that went to college. Okay, go ahead.
Who's this Triya Dish Das? Is he or someone you know?
She's a girl.
Oh, she's a girl also. Acha.
He's a what?
She can speak also. If she likes, she can introduce herself. You can tell her. She's your friend, I'm guessing?
Yeah, she is my friend. You can introduce yourself.
Yes.
So, Ramachandra, you do all the intros from now on, okay? But I think I've gave a little format how to get people to understand the broader picture. So go ahead.
Yes, Triya Dash can introduce herself.
She's muted.
Let me unmute. Ask to unmute. Okay. She can unmute herself.
Welcome, Hare Krishna.
Hi.
Thank you for unmuting me. I've been silent.
Okay, so let's continue then. Seems like they don't want to introduce themselves. Maybe later they can introduce themselves. All right. Bhanu Prabhu, anything else you want to ask? We're back on the screen. Bhanu has a lot of faith in the Western system.
Yes, he
Western
does.
system. What system?
A true devotee.
A true devotee.
Hari Bol, true devotee. Prabhu is back.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mahaprabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna to all devotees.
Mohit.
Dandavat pranam.
Okay, what's next? Who's gonna talk about number
Nanaim
2 or
Prabhu is
number 1?
muted.
Huh?
Nanaim Prabhu is muted.
No, Nanaim Prabhu is muted. Okay, hold on. Unmute him.
Why do you mute us, Ramachandra Singh? You don't want to hear us.
I mute myself all the time.
Point to be noted. Hari Bol.
He wants to shut us up once and for all.
Okay, so we'll start.
This whole
Mohit is okay. Good. He's not muted anymore.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
the reading that we did, it reminded me of a class that I listened to of Srila Prabhupada's, and he had one of these Upamana Pramanas. It's like a comparison where he was saying that to disturb someone that's in this illusion, it's like going to a sleeping person and waking them up. They might be angry at you, but then if you just tell them, hey, that person over there is trying to kill you, then it's actually, you've done them a great benefit. So just, you're talking about like faith in the system. Like we have
Jeev jago, Jeev
the
jago. Gaura
Prabhupads.
Chandra bole.
Yeah. You can say, the house is on fire. Wake up, get out. He said, oh, shut up. Call me in a couple hours. I need more sleep.
Right. So yeah, I mean that line of thinking, like it got me thinking about this title Paramahansa, and like can they cause a disservice to someone if ultimately that disservice is a service? Like for example, there's Narada Muni's cursing of Nalakubera and Manigriv, that they were trees, but ultimately they got to be knocked over by Krishna.
Yes. Well, you know what Nalakavir and Manigriva were doing, right?
Drinking and not offering their obeisances
To Narada Muni.
Yeah.
And they were dancing around the naked women in a pond up in the heavenly planets.
And the naked women, they offered their obeisances, but not them.
Yeah. So the naked women got to stay naked women and they got to become trees.
Sounds like me.
So,
Yeah, be careful. So careful, you may become from a tree into a poison oak bush. That would not be good.
Hare Krishna.
So the curse of Narada Muni was hardly a curse, was it? Because they became trees
Right,
in Vrindavan and they got to witness Krishna's childhood pastimes. And when Krishna was pleased with them, he dragged the grinding mortar between them and knocked them both down, and they came out from where jivas live in trees, which is in the root. And they came out of the root of the tree and offered their pranams to Krishna. So can you imagine all those years of sobriety, not drinking and splashing around with naked goddesses, and then they got to see Krishna personally after they sobered up.
Sounds like the Italians.
Only
The Romans.
Only certain Italians.
Prabhu, I want to say something today. I'm at the Goshala of Rajasthan.
The Yakunis.
You guys want to see this?
What?
Mohit. Yes,
Yes,
Have
Mohit.
mercy. Have mercy on my
Yes,
soul.
Prabhu, you want to see the Goshala today? I'm at the Goshala.
Let's see it.
Mahaprabhu, we can't have mercy in your soul. You are the soul.
Okay,
Hare
let
Krishna.
Prabhu continue. Prabhu is in his preaching. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's keep on going. And the ladies can take part. Anyone can take part. It's not just us big guys with big voices taking part. Hopefully. Go ahead.
So this number 2, anyone wants to tackle number 2 and give their realization? Anyone?
Goodness gracious.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, that sentence it really makes me think about how anything can be used in Krishna's service. So there is so much empty land.
Yeah.
And
especially in America.
It makes me think about the verse from Light of the Bhagavad that basically the ones that take advantage of others, they don't like the farmlands because they can't make it like a factory because the farmlands are self-sufficient.
Very excellent point.
Another thing is that when you drive to Los Angeles, at least from Sacramento, there's huge scale slaughterhouses of cows and other living entities. And if we use all that land that they're slaughtering animals, we can have so much grain and food that we can practically probably feed millions and billions of people. But Prabhupada says that they will not do it. You know.
Well, they will not do it.
Yeah.
But you know, when it comes to, I was raised on a farm,
Oh yes, yes.
and not a very big farm, but I got to see a lot of farms. People will not cultivate land if they don't need to. If they can make enough money closer to their house and like that, they can leave so much land vacant. But we're not trying to make a crop and sell it. We're trying to live. We're planning to live off the land while sumptuously feeding cows sumptuous biologically engineered grass that hopefully will become a wonderful source of nutrition for the cows. I didn't say genetically engineered, I said biologically. In other words, by crossbreeding the grass, you can make it better and better.
Yeah, engineered might be a term that some of these people don't actually live up to. They're just messing around instead of engineering.
What reminds me from this line is second one. They're not properly utilizing the land on Earth, but they want to go to Mars and they want to
Start
customize it according to
communities there. Yeah.
They want to turn Mars into a habitable environment for people to live. There's so much places on Earth which they can use for.
Now we're talking about self-sufficiency. And I have a magazine here called Grit, which unfortunately is for people that are farming who unfortunately are raising animals to kill. But there's some interesting things. Could I read you just a little bit of it so you can see what's involved in growing things?
Yes, no, go ahead.
Properly. You just don't go to the store, buy seeds, put them in the ground, and hope for the best. Now, what does it say? Okay, this is what they say. The quality of the environment and available nutrition at the time of seed germination determines the number, size, and quality of the fruit the plant will eventually
Krishna,
produce.
can you present it on the screen, Prabhu, whatever you're reading, please, if possible?
Oh, I can't put it on the screen. I have no idea how.
Ramachandra, Prabhu, can you do it?
No, because he's reading from a magazine. He's reading from a magazine.
Okay, no issues, sir. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I can actually copy it and send it up to Ramachandra for next time. But this is just don't have to concentrate too heavily. Just get the gist of what they're saying. I was blown out of the ground. I was raised on a farm. I never heard of any of this. This is much more advanced, you see.
Wow. Please read.
So let me go. I'll try to read quickly. The quality of the environment and available nutrition at the time of seed germination determines the number, size, and quality of the fruit the plant will eventually produce. That's interesting. Huh? Cell division and cell growth that occurs during germination requires adequate proportions of calcium, potassium, boron, and manganese. And without success at this early stage, a plant can't produce high-quality fruits. When it says fruits, it doesn't mean trees. It means, crops. Calcium may be found in limestone quarry rock dusts. Fermented plant juice, and they go by the title FPJ, which stands for fermented plant juice, of nettle, dandelion, or sassafras leaves, see, using fermented plant juice, page 48, vinegar extractions of eggshells, oyster shells, or cow bones, and leaf mold fermented carrot tops. Potassium is found in these amendments as well as slightly different proportions. Boron can be found in vinegar extractions of oyster shells and cow bones, never mind that, and the fermented plant juice of stinging dental chickweed and leaf mold fermented carrot tops. Manganese may be found in some basalt quarry rock dust and in the fermented plant juice of quackgrass, dandelion, stinging nettle, or sassafras leaves. You see, these are all things that grow wild. In order to be sure that the seeds get all the nutrition required from the start, this is agronomy. You see, this is what Vaishyas are doing that Shudras working with Vaishyas can't do. The science. In order to be sure that the seeds get all the nutrition required from the start, soak them for 10 to 15 minutes in a solution of mineral-enriched water. Okay, you see, you take the seeds in mineral-enriched water. Stinging nettle or dandelion FPJ provides a broad spectrum of minerals and other beneficial compounds, all in plant available forms. Soaking the seeds in a leaf mold fermented amendment of the same plant would provide them with minerals and other beneficial components unique to that plant. Large seeds such as beet seeds are relatively easy to soak and remove from the soaking jar into plant. Small seeds may be more difficult. Transferring individual wet seeds into small pots for indoor growing is relatively straightforward, but when direct sowing small seeds outdoors, such as carrot seeds, first cast the unsoaked seeds onto the soil. This is Vaishya, okay? And then water the bed with the mineral amendment solution. Repeated applications of water-soluble amendments will ensure that minerals are available during germination. After sowing, continue applying mineral-enriched good water to the seeds and sprouts, especially during the first few weeks of growth. Remember that these plant-based amendments contain minerals in plant-available forms, as well as broad spectrum of other compounds that'll nourish the plants. Notice that he doesn't say go to the store and buy sacks of fertilizer. He's showing how you make plant-specific nutrients for each breed of plant. Biology may be added to the soil a week or two prior to planting or transplanting in order to establish a rich biological environment for roots to interact with as soon as they enter the ground. Leaf mold provides the most diverse selection of local biology, but lactic acid bacteria or raw milk may be used as well. You see, this is amazing. Huh? Once roots have become established and leaves unfurl, the plant will use some of the energy created during the photosynthesis or selectively feed the soil biology turning the ecosystem into its own digestive system. That's amazing, no? Experiment with various recipes and tuning of application and keep records of what you try to compare results. Every crop has an optimal soil temperature for germination and growth. Make sure these temperatures are met to give the plant the best opportunity to thrive. Using heat mat is the easiest way to attain optimal soil temperatures when starting seeds inside. A feedback system allows the soil to be kept at that optimal temperature day and night and day. Indoors, use a thermometer to monitor soil, etc., etc. The vegetative stage. For vegetative crops such as lettuce, kale, and spinach, photosynthetic efficiency is a limiting factor to growth. Magnesium, iron, manganese, and phosphorus are needed to maximize photosynthetic efficiency. Once seedlings have begun to photosynthesize, meaning grow in the nature, apply those minerals as foliar sprays. Sources of magnesium include vinegar extraction, vinegar extraction of cow bones. We could probably find other sources, other bones out in nature or something. And these, and the juice of stinging nettles or dandelion and leaf mold, fermented dieland or carrot tops. Iron, although present in the soil, is often not in a root form that plants can utilize. Leaf mold, fermented carrot tops, and FPJ of dandelion, quackgrass, and fruits contain iron in the form that the plant can use. As noted in the seedling stage, sources of manganese include some basalt quarry rock dust and the FPJ of quackgrass, dandelion, stinging nettle, or sassafras leaves. Phosphorus is available in the vinegar extraction of cow bones, FPJ of fruits and leaf mold, fermented carrot tops, During vegetative growth, observe the leaves for indication of mineral deficiencies. As soon as you notice a deficiency, apply a foliar spray, you spray the leaves, or drench the plants in soil to address the problem. Biological amendments may be used to stimulate the ecosystem. Since most of the amendment recipes described here have plant-based broad-spectrum mineral proportions, the risk of toxicity are lower than if using commercially produced single-element mineral components, especially as the case of trace minerals needed in concentration as small as single-digit parts per million. It's okay if I go on just a little bit more because it gets more interesting as we go on. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. During the reproductive state phase, plant nutrition priorities change. Mineral and nutrient seeds of the flowers and fruit become primary, and minerals and nutrients are sometimes relocated from the leaves and stalks. Carbohydrates produced via photosynthesis are also prioritized to the flowers and fruit. Calcium-rich foliar sprays or drenches made with vinegar extraction can facilitate this nutrient flow to the fruit sink. The stage just before the plant drops its leaves is an opportunity to provide nutrients for next year's life cycle. One example cited by plant nutrition experts, John Kempf, is a foliar spray of cobalt, which may delay senescence and thereby increase crop yields. Local sources of cobalt include the FPJ of peach juice and mugwort, apple and mugwort. A vinegar extraction of the FPJ residue may yield cobalt in higher concentration. Only get almost, I believe, getting to the right place. Oh my God, where's it? Okay. Okay. Pick plant stems, leaves and stems early in the morning before the sun is up, while the dew is still on them. This is when the plant leaves have their most energy in them. By picking the leaves in the morning before the sun rises, this energy is captured for making FPJ, fermented plant juice. Lactic acid, bacteria, and yeast are captured on the plant surface. Don't wash the plants and don't harvest just after the rain, because rainfall can wash off lactic acid, bacteria, and yeast. If conditions have been dry for several days, water the plants the day before you plan to gather material from them. Weigh the plant material and add organic brown sugar. For relatively dry plants, start with a ratio of weight of 3 parts plant material and 2 parts organic brown sugar. For wetter ingredients, such as a fruit, use a ratio of 1:1. Mix the plant materials with the organic brown sugar in a large bowl. After mixing, move the mixture into a glass jar or crock, or place the unmixed plant material and sugar into the jar in alternating layers. A tall, narrow container will work better than a wide, shallow one. Cover the top surfaces of the material with a layer of sugar. Initiate fermentation by placing the rock or glass or water on top of the content in the jar. Any item that will fit into the opening of the jar can be used as a weight, but avoid stems made of plastic or stainless steel or other metals. The weight of the added item will press the sugar and plant material together, initiating osmosis to draw moisture out of the plant material, etc. Cover the entire jar with a cloth and store in a dry, well-ventilated area at room temperature, about 70 degrees, and out of the sunlight. Periodically check on the jar. Within hours, the brown liquid will begin to form at the bottom. When enough liquid has formed so that all the plant material is submerged, this may take a day or so only, you see. Remove the weight. Allow fermentation proceed for several days, continuing to monitor the jar to make sure the plant material stays submerged. After about a week, the fermentation process will be complete. The contents will then have a fragrance which is unique and not off-putting. If left fermenting plant material sitting longer than this and still had a stable product, though eventually the contents of the jar will change into something else that may not be as useful. Experiment with timing. Place the funnel into the quart jar and put the sieve atop the funnel to strain the liquid from the plant matter. Invert the fermentation container into the sieve so that liquid drains freely into the quart jar. This setup provides sturdy support for a glass jar that's 1/2 gallon in size or smaller. For a crock or some other heavy container, create a different setup. Some imagination may be required. Let the mixture drain for several hours or overnight. Don't attempt to squeeze residual lift out of the plant material. The amount of liquid amendment produced will vary depending on how much moisture was in the plant matter at the start of the process. If foam appears at the top of fermentation liquid after extraction, add more sugar to eliminate. Record these details in your garden notebook for future reference. Label containers with the plant type and parts used and the dates when fermentation began and ended. And add to your garden notebook and weight of plants sugar use, the type of sugar, the time of day the plants were harvested, the containers used, and other information deemed appropriate. Store the containers in well-ventilated, anything of that. So there, I was hoping to hit onto another thing, which says, you sounds like a lot of work to start irrigate your plants. You only take a couple of a tablespoon of that in 5 gallons of water and mix it in, and that's what you spray onto the plants. So it's actually, for all the labor of fermenting all that stuff, you can do acres of plants with 1 gallon jar full of fermented material. And then what it also said was, and I don't know where that is, I'm not going to try to find it for you, but just I can tell you, is that when you get the seeds, you select the seeds that become more acclimatized to the soil condition where they were grown. So you buy seeds or get seeds from somewhere, hopefully, organic seeds from people that are doing this sort of thing to begin with, and then you get the seeds and you plant them, then you harvest the seeds, and then you process them for drying them out for next year. Each time you do that with this fermented plant juice process, the seeds get better and better and better, so the plants get better and better and better, and more acclimatized to the exact soil condition where your Davavanashram garden is. What do you think of that? Isn't that pretty mind-boggling? So that is what we say is, that's what Prabhupada said in the time. This is just a simple thing that has been created by gardeners over time. But Prabhupada said that in the time of the Vedas, on cow protection, that he said that even the average farmer, meaning Vaishya, was more knowledgeable in this type of thing, which I just read, plus millions of things better and higher and more incredible than that, than the best agronomists today. Agronomist means essentially now agronomists are busy doing genetic engineering of plants to make them insect proof and huge and poisonous to human beings, just to make money off of the products that they get from the genetic engineering. So do you see, here we can do genetic engineering that will increase the quality. So how long will that take? Okay, 10 years, say, on a Varnashram farm. If you have 10 years on a Varnashram farm, you're going to be able to probably increase, using this one little technique, you'll probably be able to increase the quality of your grain seeds hundreds of times more than when you bought the seeds from the grain supplier. You see? So it's sort of like natural if you know how to do it. Okay? Is everybody there? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So let me get out of the get out of the mainstream now and let everybody else pounce on things they want to talk about. And if you want to go through other parts of that posting, please do, because it's all part of what we're doing. And this is what we want to hear from. We want to hear from other intellectuals. We want to hear from other spiritual people. How are they going to deal with Daiva Vanashram? That's the main challenge for the League for 10K is Daiva Vanashram, meaning how to sustain people and make them Krishna conscious. So one thing I would like to mention finally, as we've already discussed it the other last time, and that is Daiva Vanashram is communal cow protection society. It's not designed to be, it'll have a temple. It'll have a temple as much as any temple does. But ISKCON temples in the city will not be doing farm cow protection. They'll be monasteries, essentially, out on Sankirtan. That will be their job. Out on Sankirtan, collecting money, maybe giving money to our farm projects, and then we give them milk products and grains in return. But whatever, that becomes reciprocal. But the temples are temples. ISKCON temples are ISKCON temples. Daiva Vanashram, although will not be presumably controlled by ISKCON, if we go back to the original purpose of the direction of management, each Varnashram community will be completely independent from every other Varnashram community. And essentially independent from ISKCON temples, except that they will be incorporated as, ISKCON, but not under the control of anybody. We have to get off the track that the GBC controls ISKCON. The temple presidents control ISKCON. And if ISKCON is every temple there, if you have a temple in your house with 6 devotees in it, and you incorporate it, nobody can tell you what to do. So what does the GBC do when they're elected? They go around to places, particularly those places like temples with 6 people in it, and help them get a boost, to get up bigger, more devotees. That's what happened in Detroit. When I got there, there was like 6 devotees. They were all going to school, medical school and stuff like that in Detroit, University of Michigan. When I finished, we had like 30 devotees. That was like in a few months. We had like 30 devotees there. And we had beautiful Jagannath deities carved by Vishwakarma, whoever that is, and a temple room and wonderful prasadam. And it had gone from people wearing karmi clothes and chanting to a picture of Prabhupada and Krishna on an overturned cardboard box to a full-scale temple where people would come from all over the place, 20 or 30 at a time would come in to the temple that we had then built just out of nothing in a month or two. And they came flooding in. A lot of people that are ISKCON gurus came from there, that program. Now, sannyasis and whatnot. So it was not a failure because there were in those days, there were communes around, and the whole commune would join the temple. Why? Because it was what they wanted. It was what we were doing had the juice, the taste, and the flavor of what they had started a commune to do, but couldn't get much flavor out of. There's, organic food, that's nice. Growing your own pot plants, okay. But what we provided was bliss, transcendental ecstasy, sumptuous prasadam, gorgeous deity worship, and wonderful kirtan using only Prabhupada melodies. Why only Prabhupada melodies? There was only one Prabhupada. Where else would we get a melody? This is 1969, before Chutananda cut the throat of Prabhupada's kirtans. Okay, go ahead.
I had a question about 3. Did you mean to say more and more difficult? Because it says more and more easy.
Could you read it?
Arable land will become more and more easy to control as the golden age of Kali advances toward the living hell.
Oh,
that
yes.
will.
The living hell will have less and less need for land. There'll be cannibalism and rape and pillage. They don't have time. anybody who starts a farm when the society goes haywire is a victim. You raise a cow, they'll come and kill it. End of story. They eat it right in front of your eyes. So it'll be easier and easier to get land because people will be more and more afraid to try to get land.
Oh, okay. So it's like a supply and demand kind of thing. There's going to be a big supply of it. Okay.
Well, it'll be a sort of neglect. People won't dare farm. I mean, suppose you started a big garden and you were growing, acres of Brussels sprouts, eggplants, tomatoes, and potatoes, and whatnot. People moron in there taking away in sacks, and then you got nothing. Why did you do all that work? Now, what if you and your sons have pistols and rifles? You can try to shoot them, but they may have crossbows and machine guns and take it away anyhow. I mean, when people are hungry, they'll do any damn thing. So if you have a big, like today, we have so many acres of land planted with crops, genetically engineered, artificial fertilizers, and all that nightmare, which I just read the answer to, the cure for. And how are they going to protect their acres of land? How are they going to protect their orchards? What are they going to do when people come in and take every single avocado off their trees? Or every single pomegranate off their trees? What are they going to do? And what will Texans do if people come in and take all the cows and slaughter them and take them away? They don't, cattle ranches. They're raising cows for beef. People come in, kill them for beef, take the beef away, and then you don't have any cows anymore. What are you going to do? So they're going to become marauders. They're going to go crazy. Because you can't be.
Are you saying that in the present or in the next decade or something, the future years?
Well, anywhere, maybe starting 5 or 10 years from now and getting worse. And for 100 years, after 100 years, I would say all bets are off. If we don't have Dharma up and running in 100 years, then the people of Kali Yuga are going to be totally doomed. Because they will have no way to sustain themselves. I mean, they're going to say, well, we like everything about it, but we don't want to chant Hare Krishna and we don't want to be vegetarian. Well, good luck. Will it work? You need so much land to raise beef cattle. How are you going to control that land? But so much less land to control milk cows. So you have your Kshatriyas guarding the milk cows with machine guns or bows and arrows or whatever they have. Flint axes in pieces of driftwood, whatever they could get their hands on to defend. And then you protect the cows that way from the meat eaters that want to just kill and eat. Never mind, there will be no thing for tomorrow.
So yeah, I'm wondering, how is that more and more easy to control?
Because it's all one communal thing. The laborers
get more organized
and divided according to Varna.
Okay.
If the Shudras want to be on the same level as Brahmins and want to have big fat bank accounts because they work off-site, the whole thing will be failure. The Shudras have to be willing to work with the Vaishyas. What I read from this magazine is not by Vaishyas, it's by survival farm mentality, how to go back to the land. The magazine's called Grit. I recommend that we get the subscriptions to it. Because of articles like that, if people have that knowledge how to grow, other people simply have the knowledge how to come and steal it. And Prabhupada said, they'll come, you say, will you chant Hare Krishna? No. You shoot them in the head with a pistol.
Wow.
Why? Because the price to pay for. Imagine if somebody comes and they want to steal our crops, rape our women, and kill our cows, and you say you want to chant Hare Krishna? No, you shoot them. Now, what's the alternative? what alternative would you have to shooting them? If they won't join you, then it's going to be join us or die or go away. And if they go away and get a big group of people and say, I know this place where there's so many cows, well, our Kshatriyas had better have good enough weapons to defend the place. Because if they come 150 people on Harley Davidsons and horses and bows and arrows and machine guns, well, we're going to have to shoot them to death if they want to rob us. But what we'll be doing is inviting them to join us, and as soon as there's too many, get the next piece of land and teach them how to make a Jagannath temple there, and do the same crop. We don't need to make a big empire of Daiva Varnashram. Frankly, I think at least in the foreseeable future, unless we end up with a king like Yudhisthira or Ramachandra, it won't work. You need to keep it under 10,000 people or maybe under 4,000 people. I'd say 10,000 acres is a good number of acres. And you can progress there and fill it up with people. Then when you get a lot of people, start another one. And by that time, you'll have the cows, you'll have you'll have the plants nourished with FPJs, fermented plant juices, and you'll have all of everything to do. So all you need to do is go there and take the bamboo that you had and grow it up and make huts out of it if it's in a warm climate, and live in it and continue to branch out everywhere to do the job right. Now, of course, you stay in communication, and if the World Wide Web is still in place, then you can email people. If the World Wide Web disappears due to like that pipeline or like the microchips not showing up to make trucks with, then in that case, you have to go on horseback or by ox cart to the next community, which could be next door to yours, practically sharing a border or maybe 2 miles apart, whatever, because it would be determined by water and soil quality. So if you have another place where 10,000 acres with good water and soil quality, you go there. And then you talk to them and say, this is what we need to do. You start trading back and forth. No money, just trading. And that way, all the goods which are stored by Lord Jagannath in the temple will go and be traded for goods stored in the temple of the other Jagannath on the other temple, okay? So it's Jagannath to Jagannath sharing, and with the beneficiary being the arms, Kshatriyas of Lord Jagannath, the belly of Lord Jagannath, which is considerable and Tori, belly of Jagannath, the Vaishyas, and the legs of Lord Jagannath, the Shudra. So the whole body of Lord Jagannath will be completely inter-existing. It's not like Shudras are less than Brahmins, because without the legs, how can the head go anywhere? We have to consider that each part of society is completely, uniquely vital to the body of Lord Jagannath, who is the Varnashram project that we're doing. The Kshatriyas are his arms, the Vaishyas. And when it comes to Lord Jagannath and Puri, the people that take care of Lord Jagannath, you'd be amazed how they talk about him. Oh, Jagannath, he's so lazy. He never moves. He's so fat and lazy. All he does is eat, eat, eat all day long. That's how they talk about Lord Jagannath if they're the servants that are directly serving Lord Jagannath. Amazing, no?
Yes. Is there some kind of connection to how Lord Jagannath's arms went into his body and the system of
they didn't really do that. What happened is Vishwakarma was the deity, and he said he wanted to be left alone until he was finished. And the king would come up to the door, being the king. He said, why the hell should I be excluded? Except I can't go in. And he didn't like that at all because he's the king, right? He wants to go in, but he can't because he's told he can't go in. So he sits there and listens at the door and he hears chip, 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 chip going on. So he's satisfied for 45 days. That's a lot of time. So he goes up after 45 days and he doesn't hear anything. And after that, he doesn't hear anything. Maybe 5-10 days go by, he hears nothing. He thinks, maybe the guy that carved is lying on the floor dead. Maybe something happened. I don't know what it is. So the king, being the king, opened the door and came in, and there were the deities in their present form, not completely carved as Radha and Krishna. So there you have Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev in that form. Now, taking it out of the origin of these deities, taking it into Orissa, the reason why they have that crude form, if you want to call it that, is, I don't consider it crude, but compared to Krishna and Vrindavan with beautiful fingers and a flute, reasonably cruder. In Orissa, they're right on the water, ocean, and they eat largely huge amounts of fish. So if they eat fish, they can't worship Radha and Krishna. They have to follow the regular principles to worship Radha and Krishna. So they can't worship Radha and Krishna, so they can worship Jagannath. Because his form is crude and therefore not offended by the breath of fish eaters coming to offer their obeisances. That's what Prabhupada explained.
Jai.
Jai. Not bad, huh?
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, what's the next paragraph to be read?
Who's
What
next?
sentence?
Who's going to read? Matthew Prabhu or Bhanu Prabhu? Or
Which
anyone
one?
else?
Rupa Manjari Prabhu? Or how about one of the ladies?
They left.
Oh, how sad. Were they bored? Or
Unfortunately.
they were just checking it. They were just checking it out.
Who knows?
Okay, well, maybe Mahaprabhu would like to read.
Mahaprabhu, yes. Jai Mahaprabhu.
The fourth one? Which one?
Ramachandra.
Yes, Bhanu Prabhu. Third or fourth one.
Okay. Third one, huh? Okay. Arable land will become more and more easy to control as the golden age of Kali advances towards a living hell that will be all that remains when the age of Kali reaches its completion, leaving 417,000 years of increasing horrors that will last until the advent of Lord Kalki, who will then cleanse the earth of ghastly, tormented living beings remaining on earth at that time. As soon as the winter of the 4 yugas, Kali Yuga, has reached its grisly completion, the gorgeous cosmic yuga of spring, Satya Yuga, will begin.
So what's the question? What's the comment? What do you want to say to that? Do you believe it? Do you think that's true?
Well, life is already getting like hell anyway, so what do you mean it's not true? It is true. Everything is... No.
Oh, you think this is hell, huh? Wait until tomorrow.
Prabhupada used to say during that time when they were having elections, people had, I think people had no food, but they were giving away TVs. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was back in the elections. Prabhupada was saying, they have no food, but suddenly you'll get a TV in the village.
Well, yeah, but if you don't have electricity and you get a TV, if you turn it sideways, you can use it as a dining table.
Right.
But if you have electricity, now, that crosses some lines, and I'm going to get into that in further parts of this. But I mean, because we're going to come up, the next part will be, what is Daivavanashram and how is it structured and why? Then the next step after that is, well, wait a minute, we're not there yet. Banu raised some really good points. We're not there yet. What do I do? I'm a web designer. How can I participate? That part will be there too. You see, we'll have all the rules and regulations present for the final outcome of Daivavanashram. But as long as there is electricity and internet, why not make money doing web design? There's no problem. But then you have to figure out how you're going to do it and what do you do after there's no more electricity or internet. And in your lifetime, who knows? Maybe in a few years, maybe in 100 years. We don't know. But what we do know is that at some point it will cease to exist. And Daivavanashram, once it is taken up by the significant number of people in the world following our direction on this League for 10K, once that has come into practice, they will know what to do at every stage when there isn't even anything technological. And if we make proper books and everything to do it, they have a proper book, or they go from farm to farm speaking from memory because there isn't anything to write on, that's fine. And they create that and then make it so that people can survive while chanting Hare Krishna. Now, the idea of Kanista Madhyam Uttamadhikari doesn't directly apply to the Daivavanashram. Varnashram is really Kanistadhikari all the way through. Of course, it's possible that in that society, someone could become a Madhyamadhikari or an Uttamadhikari, but the main function will not be generating Kanista and Madhyam and Uttamadhikaris. The main function will be Kanistadhikaris, people to work the land and believe that they're their bodies enough that they realize they have to work the land if they expect to eat. So anybody who wants to eat has to work the land. Okay, so that's Kanistadhikari. My body is driving the wagon here. My body needs food. My body will get food from the Vaishyas through the Brahmins who will cook, and I will eat to my full satisfaction so that my body will be filled and strong and healthy and Krishna conscious.
Hare Krishna. So I just had some news. I don't know if it's news to you, but there was Hanumat Prashak Swami Maharaj came to the ISKCON Temple, Houston.
Okay.
And he was saying that this system is going to be enacted where like village life will be like there's this huge worldwide
Yeah. That's why we're trying to do this. We're not.
Yeah, but
I don't
so
know.
far, nobody has come up with a scientific or a conceptual plan that will create an overriding presence of Varnashram. You can say and say and say, and you can do and do and do. So in Hawaii, there's a guy, Higgins, who I knew his mother and father quite well. He's busy milking other people's cows and selling cow products. Well, that's nice, but it's not Varnashram Dharma even closely. So the good parts are not being slaughtered. And there's no bad part. It's all good part. But can it sustain 5,000 people? No. And if you've got 5,000 people overnight saying, we're desperate, we want to start Varnashram, how do we begin? That'll be very hard with 5,000 people to begin. That's why we need to start now, at least on paper, and then in practice, and then expand the idea so that as land becomes liberated and you don't have to worry so much about building apartments, then you'll be able to develop all over the country varnashram communities. And if there's internet, you can show them on the internet how to do them. You can show them with your cell phone, cameras, your iPhone 20G cameras, you know.
Yeah, Hanumat Prashak Swami Maharaj said that
So what is it? Tell me everything about what he's doing too. Tell us all.
Specifically this temple here in Houston, he said that it would be one community connected from the temple here to the farm that's 2 miles up the road.
He has a farm?
No, it's Bhakti Urban Farm. It's the temple's property that the Bhakti program is going on there.
Okay, and how many acres?
8.
Okay, that's tiny, but useful. And does it have natural water, or you have to pump it into the ground?
Yeah, there's some water there.
What does that mean?
It's not flowing through, but there's a lake.
What do you mean?
That's good.
Okay, that's a good fresh water coming from the mountains. That's good. Does it have a well also, backup water system?
It's not flowing water. There's a lake there.
Oh, so it's a spring.
Where does the water come from?
No.
Okay, yeah, these things you have to investigate. Yes.
Yeah, so is the water coming from anywhere in particular?
No, I think it's just sitting there.
Well, just from rainfall?
Yeah.
You know, in Houston, they had that big problem with incredible disastrous flooding this last year, I think, and also a few years ago. But do you know why? Do you know why it was flooding? Nobody.
All the dams.
Huh?
Is it because of all the dams?
Yeah, but those places that flooded were intended to be gigantic reservoirs of water.
Yeah.
But when they decided not to do that, they came in and made them into housing developments. But they're shaped like reservoirs, so when it storms, they fill up with water, because that's what they are, reservoirs. But nobody wants to admit it, because then they have to say, well, what about all these multi-millions of dollars worth of houses that have been put in? Why did you do that in a reservoir? Particularly since in the future, water will probably be more valuable, but it was nice flat land. So they said, yeah, we'll develop it and make rich men's houses. You know about that? Do you know about that yourself?
Well, I mean, it just kind of seems like that. I didn't know about like too much about the of Houston.
Yeah, well, it's right where you are.
He's so built like
So if the next time it floods, even 1 or 2 feet of water, why not check it out and see where that flood is? Is it in a reservoir that's supposed to be a reservoir, or is it in just low land? But the reservoirs have walls around them to keep the water in. But they don't like to talk about it because it's, how are you going to explain to people that they bought a house in the middle of a reservoir? In Mayapur, Prabhupada said you have to build buildings on plinths. A plinth is a stack of dirt that goes up. In Mayapur, if you want to build a building to keep it away from the flooding, which happens every few years, you have to make the plinth 10 feet high.
There's a question for you, Narayan.
Uh-oh. I might answer it.
Subbu Rama.
Yes.
Asks, I feel farm life is austere compared to city temple life. How devotees can get ready for this transition? Please give your advice.
They can start. There's lots of people that want to go back on the land. And there's lots of people that want to care for cows. The question is, they don't know what to do. They say, well, I'll have a backyard, I'll put a fence around it, I'll put a cow in it. That's my cow protection program. Well, fine, you have a cow, you can milk the cow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You feed the cow, pay for the cow. But that's not cow protection. That's a Goshala. That's what rich people do. They keep a few cows to feed their family milk. But it's not Dharma Varnashram. Varnashram means the cow is your mother, and you get your milk from your mother, and the cow doesn't belong to any person. The cow belongs to Lord Jagannath, cows. And if you have 500 cows, 1,000 cows, they all belong to Lord Jagannath. Okay.
When you're saying there are lots of people who are wanting to do Varnashram or co-production, are you saying general people or ISKCON devotees?
Both. The devotees, ISKCON devotees want to do it. Some of them do. I mean, they tried in Vrindavan, they tried in Gitanagari, they've tried all over the place. That Swami is trying it in India with his programs. But they don't know what to do. Because they don't know what to do, it can't take off. Oh, it works in a village, sure. Why not have a village with cows? Good idea. It's been going on for millions of years. But how to make a survival system out of it that works in the face of a broken technology, that's a whole different story. Right?
But are the ones ISKCON devotees who are wanting to do Varnashram and cow production, are they coming from the villages, or the city devotees are also wanting to do it?
No, it's just devotees that like the idea of cows. It doesn't really matter where they come from. But if they come from the city, I will tell you, having been raised on a farm myself, it takes quite a lot of adjustment to switch from living in the city to living on the land.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
No TVs, right? No internet, maybe, in the mountains.
Well, that's all. It depends. It depends. No TV. I would say, why have TVs? I mean, what are you going to do? Watch TV instead of chanting japa? Or watch TV while you're chanting japa? I mean, what's the deal?
Oh.
I mean, what do you need it for? And particularly if you don't have electricity, then if you don't have electricity, then having a TV becomes a question of riding a bicycle to produce the electricity. Or having one of the things we have advantages, big advantages for transition right now. When I say right now, I mean for the next 5 or 10 years, probably, or maybe even longer. Who knows how long the human society will stay integrated and successfully able to produce on big farms and distribute to McDonald's. So where the people are just a factor in the economic machine, as the end users, they take their money and they pay, and then all the capitalist pigs make money off people eating at McDonald's a hamburger for $2 or something of that sort. I think totally is like a totally horrible situation. To kill a cow and sell a burger for only $2, that means they have figured out how to cheat the public, obviously.
Have you heard of this? There's something called freedom cells that's going on right now. Like
I haven't.
There's some people in Mexico that they've claimed this territory, and like they don't allow any influence of cartels in it. And Andrew was saying that he thinks it'd be a nice place to just go in and just explain Varnashram Dharma to them.
Sure.
Yeah.
We can explain it to them, but the thing is, then they have to become devotees, they have to become vegetarian, etc.,
Right.
etc. I'm not too worried. I'm very happy that so many people are becoming vegans, and they're becoming vegans because they don't want to see cows slaughtered. That's fine. But how will a vegan feel if he came to visit an up and running Varnashram society? Supposing 30 vegans show up, say, oh no, we're not going to eat any milk, we're not going to have any ghee, we're just going to have vegetables. Okay, here, we'll make you special dishes with just vegetables. And then when they see everybody eating, and the cow's happy, not exploited, not killed, then how quickly will they switch from vegan to lacto-vegetarian? You know?
What to speak if it's A2 milk?
Oh yeah, A2. Well, hopefully, is Rupert Manjoy still there?
Yes.
Oh, why am I doing all the talking? You should be doing all the talking.
Oh, but you're so good at talking, Ryan.
When
Oh
I
no,
asked-
I'm not. I'm not. I just do a lot of it, so people figure it's either my way or the highway. I don't want to do it. So tell me about the A2 cows and the Desi cows. What have you discovered?
Well, basically, there's a genetic disparity between A1 cows and A2 cows. And this became discovered in 2007 and was documented in the book, The Devil in the Milk by Keith Woodrow, something or other, I forget his name. But basically, all of the cows in America are Holstein Friesian breed, and they're all A1 cows. And what that means is that when you drink the milk, a little piece of the amino acid breaks off in the digestion process, and it creates a histamine reaction, an inflammatory reaction, which is why people have what we call lactose intolerance. And when you get mucus in the stomach, or a variety of allergenic reactions, which is why milk has become unpopular. It's because it's from an A1 cow. A2 cows have the older genetic line, and Desi cows are all A2 cows. Brown Swiss is an A2 breed. Certain breeds are A2, and these do not have that genetic. It's actually mutation, where the little amino acid breaks off. So it doesn't do that. So people who think that they're allergic to milk actually often find that when they try A2 milk, that they are not reacting to it. It's just an issue of what kind of cow it's coming from.
Could I add a slight comment? And I'm going to make it slight. And that is, I talked with, I think, the secretary of the A2 milk people somewhere in the Midwest. And we had a great conversation. I was talking about Dava Vanashram to them, as this is some years ago. And and they mentioned to me that you don't necessarily need an A2 breed to get A2 milk. What they do is they go to a herd of cows, pull a hair out from the tail of the cow, test it, and some regular dairy cows have A2 milk, and some, but most of them don't. But in our case, we not only want to get Desi cows, we want to cultivate them to the degree that, like that whole thing that I read about plants and the fermented plant juices to build up each stage of their growth. Well, we want to do that with Desi cows to bring them up to the highest genetic potential for producing milk and producing the best quality milk, etc. And that we can do over numerous generations, maybe over a period of 30 years. You could be able to make your herd of Desi cows 4 times better than you started out with if you know how to breed them. End of comment.
Well, the breed that my research has said is the best of all breeds is the Gir cow breed. And Ramachandra knows a Prabhu in Silicon Valley who has all Gir cows. So he's going to talk to him about finding out what
are they called?
Gir, G-I-R, Gir.
I never heard of them.
Well, they're the best, purest breed. So Ramachandra is going to find out more about.
They are Indian cows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indian cows.
Yes.
Well, good. You see, while we still have transportation and boats that don't get stuck in the Suez Canal for months, we need to get that's still stuck. That the Ever Given is still stuck in the Suez Canal, or God only I hope there aren't too many chickens on board. So the thing is that when we get the cows and get them transported, we need as many cows as we can import for for the simple reason we want to have a broad genetic base to breed from. But once we have like, if we had 1,000 cows of highest quality we can get from India, and then we start scientifically breeding them together, in 100 years we'll have the most amazing cows that's been seen since Lord Krishna was here. Go ahead.
It's almost time to end the meeting, FYI.
Well, keep on going a bit. Your speaking is wonderful.
Right.
What else do you want me to talk about?
Okay, ask Matthew.
I mean, if people are getting into the One Ashram project, they also need to be devotees, or they only need to participate in One Ashram for protection?
Who wants to answer that one? I can answer, but the thing is, if anybody comes in there, it's not just cow protection. That's the thing. We're not creating a bunch of slaves to take care of cows, or laborers to take care of cows. That would be like cow protection run by and for the Shudras. That's not what we're doing. First of all, we build what I'm going to be recommending in posts as we go along is build as big a temple with the right Vastu calculations that we can make. And then make it so that it's designed to expand according to Vastu to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger kitchens, bigger and bigger temple rooms, bigger and bigger everything, deity rooms, everything, deity clothes and everything. Make it so it's very expandable until you expand it to the largest number of people that you want to have under one roof during prasadam, which means all the men, women, and children of all four varnas. All four varnas come up to the temple 3 or 4 times a day, or their wives can come and get plates and bring it to them in the fields if that was better for them, But in any event, the temple will provide all the prasadam. If women want to cook a little something or a snack or make halva or boil milk in their home, yeah, why not? For the kids, why not? But the main thing is, all the meals like Jagannath Puri, everybody goes to the temple. Prabhupada said in Jagannath Puri, and even now I think, if 50,000 people show up unannounced, unexpected, at the door, they can come in and be fed full prasadam. That is the power of Jagannath. And that's why I think we should make our temples all Jagannath temples. I mean, Radha Krishna is wonderful, everything's wonderful, but it's more complicated. With Jagannath, he's basically into eating. So we should have a gigantic temple of Jagannath where offerings are being made every half an hour or something, so that when people are hungry, they just come up and they take prasadam. How much will it cost? Nothing. What do they have to trade? Nothing. They just take prasadam and go back to work. Then the Vaishyas and the Shudras working together on the crops, they bring all the grains that have been nurtured with FPJs, fermented plant juices, and they become much better plants. They bring all
Can
the
you tell
grains.
the Krishna conscious part of it?
Yeah, so the Krishna consciousness means every morning, everybody in the whole community can go to the temple for Mangalartik. Everybody can be there for class. Everybody can be there for breakfast prasadam. Then everybody goes out and does their work in the place, whatever it is. And then everybody comes again for evening program. And they come and they chant japa. Or maybe they have places where they can chant japa. But the main thing is it'll be a fully functioning temple, just like an ISKCON temple, except we'll be producing all of our own necessities. Clothes, ox carts, food, silks, jewelry, gold, whatever we can get. And everything will be homemade by the 1,000 people or whatever that are in the community. Has it ever been done? Sure. 2 groups come to mind. The Quakers and even more so the Amish. They cut themselves off. Of course, they're not vegetarian, but the Amish are famous for going into land which is nobody would, they're forced onto land that nobody in their right mind would want to live on because it's so hard to grow. It's all rocks and pebbles and not the good soil. They take compost and they build the soil until finally the soil is the best soil anywhere because they build it up the way I was describing there for FPJs, fermented plant juices. Well, they do the same thing to the soil, build the soil. And that's been going on for a long time. Rodale, J.I. Rodale came up with that idea. He's the one that created the term organic, is J.I. Rodale. Then his son, Robert Rodale, published a magazine which was fantastic about self-sufficient farming. I forget what it was called. Organic Farming Magazine. But
another thing I'd like to say to Rupa Manjari Prabhu, what we can do is when we get things going, we can make an advertisement on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. So people who are interested, they might be, willing to, come join or just see what we're doing and participate,
And when we do that, we better be sure we have our chachas or they'll come and invade and we won't be able to get them out again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, So
we have to be able to take them out at crossbow point.
Yeah.
Get out of this land. You can't just stay here forever. Go get your own community.
It's time to end.
Okay. All right, Prabhu. Let's end it here. We'll continue tomorrow.
Okay. Did we cover that whole paragraph or what's that whole page?
We covered the first 3 points. So we can start tomorrow, or we can have a midday conversation on WhatsApp, just like we had today.
Well, both. We should try to do as much possible here because it gets broadcast globally.
Oh.
But I was very encouraged. When I sat down and wrote, I just wrote whatever came to mind. And, from the intense desire to produce things that will, A, be useful, and B, not unuseful. But when you started reading from it made a lot of sense to me that I didn't get out of it when I was writing it. So I think that I wasn't writing it. I was simply the instrument for writing it, if I may say so, because I'm not that smart. But in any event, however it's got into existence, let's keep on going and create a body of information that will then end up uplifting the human race.
So
to the point of self-sufficiency in the face of any type of disaster.
So anyone who's watching this on Facebook and YouTube, we're broadcasting in 4 or 5 channels online. So if they'd like to participate in the Zoom meetings, Istagosthis, we're talking about Varnashram, and they can come on tomorrow, and then we have a next session on Wednesday. Sometimes we have sessions on different weekdays, but we have a WhatsApp group which you can join. I'll post the link in the description, and you can join that WhatsApp group, and then we'll send out the links where you can participate live.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
We're not going to give out our physical address because we don't have any cows left yet.
Yeah.
If you come, you won't find anything yet. But check with us tomorrow. Maybe by then we'll have some cows, but not today. Hare Krishna.